Patriots at Dolphins, Monday Night Football. Marco, which should bettors be looking at?
Well, New England's going to score. The question is, can Miami keep up with them scoring? I say not.
All right, so good point. I've heard Brady talk about that the Dolphins' D causes him the most trouble of all Ds. You look at this Patriots offense and think they're going to score pretty much every week.
Absolutely. And the defense for Bill Belichick, this is one of the worst defenses I've seen of a Bill Belichick team.
It surprises me because there's been a lot of, I'm a draft aficionado. There's something about the analytics and the getting value and the character issues. I love the draft. And I've loved conceptually what Belichick, I don't know how good that cornerback is, or I don't know how am I going to be able to critique that. But what I know is I love the idea that he's getting a lot of second rounders. Special teams is so important in the NFL. Depth is so important. A lot of good athletes cheap, and that's the thing about second rounders. They're cheap for the salary cap. You would think this would be a super deep team at this point. And he's been drafting a lot of defense. It's very surprising to me that this D is so bad. But what is it about Miami that makes you think they're not going to be able to take advantage?
I just think their offense just isn't built to be able to trade points. They do too much off of the gimmicks with the Wildcat. And when you're getting into a situation that if it gets to 2 scores, which is very easily can happen with Brady at the helm, you know, the trick play.
Not going to play well from behind.
No.
All right. So I actually have a trend backing up the Pats here. In October, Belichick is 22-7 ATS. So this is one of those 75-plus percenters. 22-7 ATS. Why? Is this just a fluke? To me, we know when you give Belichick film to look at, you always say second time you're in trouble with him. Rookies are in trouble with him. You're in a situation now where he's got 3 or 4 games, or in this point 3 in October. So I guess this game actually is going to go. Sunday is going to be October. Yeah, it's Monday the 4th. It's a situation where he's got enough games under his belt that he can find stuff early that other people can't. Because someone might say, well, geez, in December he's going to have even more film. Why isn't Belichick so good in December? To my point is he can see after 3 games what most people take 6, 7, 8, 9 games to see, which gives them an advantage on October. And clearly 22-7 is very impressive.
Right. And I think, you stated it one-sided. I think it's twofold. I think not only making the adjustments of what he's seen on film with the other teams, but tweaking his own team as well, making some little changes where things aren't working. He's
doing that quicker than the other coaches. Good stuff. All right, another factor in the game.
Well, the other point that I think is a negative for Miami is last Sunday night. That was a huge game for Miami. They returned home undefeated 2-0, playing the Jets, the team that's everybody's darling in the East this year, and people were telling Miami, you were lucky to be 2-0. You won 15-10 at Buffalo, and then you had the turnovers that you benefited from against Favre and win an ugly 14-10 game. So now you come home with something to prove. Hey, we're 2-0 and we'll show you. Well, they didn't show you. The Jets beat them, and sometimes reality, we talk about wake-up calls, but this was a wake-up call in reverse. They didn't win this game. They lost.
So their bubble was burst.
Their bubble was burst.
See, I'm not sure I agree with that. This is a team that if you would have went into the season and said you're going to start 2-1, let's assume that, like you said, the Buffalo game's a win. Though really in that game they were only like a 5-point favorite in that game. I think that win at Minnesota changed people's perspective a good bit. But the fact is, if you would have said, all right, you're going to beat Buffalo, and then you're going to split between the Jets and Minnesota, they might have wished it was flip-flopped and they would have beat the Jets. But 2-1, I'm not sure that right now they're doubting themselves. You thinking they're doubting themselves right now?
After losing to the team that everybody's saying is the team that you have to beat.
And now you got to go to New York for the next game. So I see your point there. We talked about this last week because the Dolphins were one of our videos, and the number's even more extreme now. Dolphins are 15 winners and 40 losers, ATS, at home. This isn't about coaching. This is about that stadium, that fan base, 27% ATS over 55 games. This is a team, and we've talked about it, in the NFL, a lot of people believe that home field is becoming less and less significant. For whatever reason, I can't imagine saying for 55 games, Miami's won 27% of the time ATS at home. You should back them this week. I think until this turns around over the course of multiple years, you've got to look to fade Miami at home, or you've got to look to pass the game.
The numbers don't lie, that's for sure. I will give you a number that, is interesting for the Miami side. And with everything that you've said about Miami not being, a great team, the last 2 seasons against New England, they're 2-2 straight up against New England. Now, one thing that could be a point to bring out, the coach for Miami, Soprano, is a disciple of Bill Parcells. Mm-hmm. And we all know, going back in the day, the history with Parcells and Belichick, because Belichick was, assistant for Parcells, and that kind of the knowledge base, mm-hmm. that it might be an advantage of why he has a little more success against Belichick than other coaches.
But then it goes the other way, which is you think Belichick knows what he knows, so Belichick's going to be able to react to it. It's like the meta game in poker. I think 2-2 is not enough games to make that assessment, though I believe it's an interesting concept. The question is which side has the advantage when it comes. To me, the more Belichick knows, the more dangerous things are for the other team. All right, now this is early week. We're taping Wednesday, and a lot of things can happen. And I know you handicap your Monday night game almost, a couple hours on Monday. Mm-hmm. What's your early projection?
My early projection right now, and the line is New England 1 at this point. I have New England winning this game by a field goal. I just think that the experience of Brady, given in here, that we're finally, and this is one thing we didn't talk about, the Monday night home dog is perfect 3-0. I think we're going to finally have a Monday night home dog that's going to lose, although this is the smallest Monday night home dog we've had. But we're going to take New England winning by 3.
Okay, now it's your turn to continue the conversation in the comments section with Marco and me. And that's it for this week. We'll be back with next week to do betting previews on all the biggest football games.